Hi there, welcome to Terraland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Leo energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Leo energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy energy. We all have our dualistic nature in our Leo energy and kind of all the other zodiac signs. And we have to make these decisions in our life. And do we align with our more high vibrational nature? I view high vibe Leo, you know, for all of the signs to move forward in life in a little more high vibrational energy. We have to first get out of our ego, which is like shadowy Leo energy. And we have to deal with the truth. And Leo, also represented by the sun, is being illuminated to the truth. And then high vibe Leo is being loving and encouraging and supportive of ourselves, offering ourselves love and compassion and forgiveness for, the lessons we've had to learn in life, and to take those lessons with us as we move forward and keep moving forward, kind of like growing ourselves to our full potential. But if we do that, the bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone. We have certain ways of living life, habits, vices, ways of viewing ourselves, the world around us that maybe could be skewed a little bit more negatively, and we'd have to work through those. And, we also, just like we have our dualistic nature, we know different people in our life, and some of those people kind of align with us in our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and some of the people in our life kind of align with us being in our more worldly, shadowy nature. And, it might mean that we would have to distance ourselves from some habits or some vices or some patterns or people in our life. And, that can all be challenging. It's kind of interesting. The reason for the bottom rose reading is the devil, and the reason for the top rose reading is the King of Cups, which I view the King of Cups as Cancer energy, which is about love and self-love and love of others. So, we'd have to offer our self-love to our own shadowy nature, to all of our fears and our insecurities, and offer our self-love and compassion and forgiveness for being a fallible human being who has a lot of lessons to learn. And there might be people in our life that we could have love for and we could enjoy their company, but maybe they're not ready to move forward in life differently because they're not ready to offer love to some of the things the devil can talk about, things that manipulate us. And again, that can be our fear or insecurity, past pain and heartbreak, other people in our life, our ego. And so the devil stops some people from moving forward. And, we can all work through those issues at different times in our life. And sometimes when some people have worked through some of the issues that manipulate them and they're ready to kind of move forward in life differently, some of the other people in their life aren't ready to move forward that way. And then, the devil card in a typical Rider-Waite deck looks just like the Lover's card, except instead of the angel there, it's the devil. And in the Lover's card, the people are free. And in the devil card, they're typically shown as having chains and shackles on them. So, we can love things, we can love people, but is it, kind of limiting or restricting or confining or imprisoning or kind of abusive, codependent? More, the devil can just represent being more about these things of the world where we could make things that we indulge in to make ourselves feel better, kind of the common reason why we hang out with certain people. Or it could be more influenced by the world, ego, image, status, money, and materialism. And that is a phase of life that we go through as human beings because there are all these things of the world that we want to, growing up, we want to go indulge in all these things. We want to go invest in all these things. And, we're pretty caught up in the world. And Leo is fire sign energy. So, for the first maybe 30 to 50 years of our life, we're going to be pretty fired up and pretty consumed with a lot of these things of the world. And also, the bottom row can kind of represent being a little bit consumed with ourself and more about ourself. And maybe for some people, it is putting more work and effort into having these things of the world, stability, security, and things like that. And, some people prioritize that and they're putting off maybe investing in love, until they feel like they have that stability in their life, right? And all those kind of different things can influence people differently. Some people could feel like, let's work on it together. And we'll both put in work and effort to have these things of the world, but also have love, because high vibe energy is about a balance. And so, in our more worldly nature, we want these things of the world, but in our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, we also don't want to sacrifice love. I might want a job that pays well, but do I want to be in a job that I hate or have to work with people I don't like? Some people are more, I've got to have more of a balance. I got to be in a career field that I like, and I need to work with people I like. It's just, everybody's different. People can put up with more bullshit than other people, right? And some people are like, no way, man, this one has the job, the status, or the money. I don't care if I don't like these people or I hate this job, and, teach your own. Everybody, again, kind of willing to sacrifice, because in our free will nature, and we don't work to having more balance in our life, we are sacrificing something. And for some people, some of those things that other people could sacrifice and they're okay with it, other people are like, no, that's too high a price to pay. I'm not willing to sacrifice that. So let's look at the bottom row. We have the Knight of Wands, the Ace of Cups, the Six of Cups, and the Seven of Cups. Well, the Knight of Wands is going that way. So sometimes some people would maybe like to have a new beginning. The Ace of Cups can represent a new beginning. The Six of Cups can represent working together with others. And then the Seven of Cups, adding that one cup to the Six of Cups to have the Seven of Cups, that you kind of have a new beginning with someone or with the people you're in relationship with, kind of offering that cup of love to maybe take it to the next level, right? Well, some people work through their fears about doing that, and some people don't. What do we do when we could have fears about maybe going in? Because the Six of Cups maybe could kind of be where, if I'm in one thing that, like a job, but we could equate that almost, similar things happen in relationships. But I could have an opportunity to go get a different job or get in a different friendship or relationship. Well, hopefully some people would offer themselves some love to appear in the top row. We have the Empress energy. The feminine's figures can talk about how we think and feel. So we take action to offer ourselves to temper, and that's high vibe Leo, is tempering our fears and our insecurities and our self-limiting beliefs. And we do that because emotionally, the Empress is Libra and Taurus energy, and Libra is represented by the scales of justice, and Taurus can be something more aligned with my truth, or maybe where people are acting with more character and integrity. And I might want to kind of get more balance within myself and act with more character and integrity, or I might want to get in friendships and relationships with people who do. So some people, everybody can be fearful of, maybe going in, because the Six of Cups can represent a new beginning. The Six of Cups can represent working together with others. And then the Seven of Cups, adding that one cup to the Six of Cups to have the Seven of Cups, that you kind of have a new beginning with someone or with people. getting more invested emotionally in something or going and having a new beginning. But, and we can all repeat some patterns in the Knight of Wands, kind of like, nope, 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 and the Knight of Wands can talk about that we go on these journeys to learn these lessons in life, right? And we can keep repeating an old pattern. Nope, 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 not ready, not ready. And until it kind of, you know, at what point are we willing to see that, oh shit, yeah, no, I keep going down the wrong pathway, or whatever it is that I keep choosing instead of wanting to do this work to work through some of my fears or my insecurities and work to try to get more balance within myself. I kind of keep doing other things that could keep me feeling out of balance, and I could end up being in friendship or relationship or staying in friendship or relationships and jobs where it is more tipped out of balance. It's not more just and fair. It's not maybe more loving. It's not kind of going anywhere, because shadowy energy, kind of represented by the devil, is that it doesn't give birth to anything new. We can get in different jobs, friendships, or relationships, but if we don't work through some of our own fears, insecurities, and self-limiting beliefs, kind of in our Taurus philosophy of life, we think and feel and view life a certain way, we're probably going to keep getting in relationships with people who kind of align with that way of living life or viewing life, right? And so if what we've been doing maybe hasn't turned out the way we want, we can always think, oh, well, no, other people need to change. Well, it is true that some other people in our life and in our environment and in our workplace and in our community and in our family would benefit from change, but we can't change them. And so the only person we can change is us. And if there's something about it we don't like, well, why would we keep going and taking action towards people that we might think are kind of shadowy or bossy or controlling or stubborn or prideful or egotistical, or, underneath the devil is the Five of Cups, and the fives talk about change. And it's the Six of Cups, which is Scorpio energy, just like the seven and the six are Scorpio energy. And Scorpio is emotional water sign energy, but kind of in shadow, it can be where, we can work together with other people, but maybe even being in the job, the friendship, and the relationship to make us feel more balanced instead of really dealing with the Five of Cups. Can talk about some past pain and heartbreak that we haven't dealt with. And as long as we don't deal with that, we're going to keep being the same type of person we are. And we're probably going to keep maybe getting in relationships with people to try to feel better. Or we might get in relationships more out of codependency or want for a relationship, but maybe not wanting to deal with the truth, like maybe getting in relationships with people when maybe we can already see they have some traits and characteristics that we know we don't like, but we could keep hoping that other people will change. Well, why get in relationships with people who you think need to change? Everybody kind of is the way they are and live their life the way they are because of their truth and their viewpoint and what they think is just and fair. And we can be a loving and encouraging person to people, and we might know some people have some past pain and heartbreak or self-limiting beliefs or fears or insecurities, but we could be a loving and encouraging person in those people's life without getting in a more involved relationship. But, odds are the younger we were, The more, again, in Leo energy and Sagittarius, we had some lessons to learn. If you were to get a group of people that say we're all the same age, say 35, for example, and we just picked random people like out at the mall or at any kind of event that you could go to, and you pick all a bunch of people that are 35. They'd all look different, they'd all dress different, they'd all have different vices, good qualities, some shadowy qualities. Everybody goes through life, and people had the free will to work through some issues throughout their life at different times in their life, and some people never did. We have the free will to always align with indulging our more immature, egoic, defensive, prideful, narcissistic, or whatever way of being. Other people could have worked more through some of those things. So, sometimes in tarot you hear it about like timelines, but it's kind of like emotional maturity levels and lessons that people have learned in life. And people can be the same age, people can be in significant different age ranges. And regardless if someone's 20 and 40, there's a lot of life experience that they don't have in common, but they could both be very nice, just, fair, supportive, authentic, loving people who act with character and integrity. So you get along with them, right? And then there's other people, it doesn't matter how old they are, they're immature, they're toxic, they're petty, they're bossy, they're self-consumed, So it really kind of doesn't matter what age they are. It's to, who can I be in a relationship with that the devil can be that I'm attracted to, but who has, in high vibe Scorpio, I can have a more deep, meaningful relationship. And someone who isn't shadowy energy can be where people are just creating an illusion. Like they're a more just, fair, stable, grounded, loving person than they really are. And they're kind of hiding that they have all these kind of issues that they kind of keep buried beneath the surface that they don't deal with. And then, it's not till further along in knowing them that you kind of realize those things, right? So different people could be attracted to people. And I think people are having to figure out kind of why. Is it less greed, pride, ego? Am I being immature? Some people could be attracted to people and they'd like to get to know someone maybe better, but because other relationships that they had maybe been in didn't work out, now they kind of have fear of, people not being who they say they are. Well, the whole thing is, Sagittarius, energy of the Knight of Wands, would say, life's an adventure. Don't do immature, impulsive things and repeat some poor past patterns. We can be drawn and attracted to people. The reason for the top row reading being the King of Cups, that can be male or female, it's just how people are presenting themselves in the world. But the thing is, sometimes people are wearing a false mask, and that's not the truth of who they are. And some people have already been in relationships with people who look like they were these stable, balanced, loving, just, fair people, acted with character and integrity, and they really could have for a long time. But, maybe that really wasn't their truth. But when we're kind of going down the journey of life, people can kind of drift their life off in the ditch, get lazy, get tempted by things, and You'd hope people have learned enough lessons in life that if I don't offer truth and love, I'm gonna take some immature action that's probably gonna take me to hell. And once you've kind of done that enough times in your life, you do know I should offer truth and love, act in a just and fair way, act with character and integrity with the people I'm in friendship and relationship because I don't want to repeat some old patterns. And even if what I do go invest in the Seven of Pentacles, doesn't work out the way that I think it will, I can only do the best job that I can do. And it's not getting into things more out of my own fear, insecurity, lust, greed, pride, ego, but from a place of truth and love. And that means I need to get balance within myself. I need to offer love, and the Six of Cups can talk about the past. To come to a place of peace and balance about the past and see the truth that just because some people I have known in my life who, again, could have been just and fair and loving people, but then maybe somewhere along the road, people can be tempted by things and they maybe have some lessons to learn that they hadn't learned yet. And it's kind of like they're not ready to move forward with certain people. And it's kind of like God knows that the other people are ready to move forward in life differently. Up here we have the Ten of Pentacles, which can be, which can be like completing a cycle. And the difference between the Seven of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles is the Three of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles and the Devil are both Capricorn energy. And I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. People can present themselves as these stable, grounded, emotionally mature, stable, grounded people, male or female. But it's kind of the devil in disguise, presenting themselves like a King of Pentacles. You should date me, you should marry me, you should be my friend, you should promote me, you should work for me, you should hire me. And then you find out that that's just, they might look the part, they might have stability and security, they might present themselves as very, like, just, fair, stable, grounded people, and they could be to a degree, right? But when it came to a time in the relationship where people were going to have to kind of detach from a more worldly view of life in their Libra Taurus energy. So the Empress is Libra and Taurus, and the Seven of Pentacles is Taurus. And maybe in the Three of Pentacles, in their Capricorn energy also, Capricorn energy is kind of what we view as victorious and successful. And what do we view as being victorious and successful? And in our Leo energy, is it, well, I kind of like it to be more about me, or I'm kind of more caught up in the world and the ego and the image and the status? Or am I willing to, in my Libra energy of what I think is just and fair, and in my Leo fire sign nature and my Capricorn nature, do I think it's more about having a balance? But again, I think for the first 30, 50 years of people's life, they're kind of a little more tipped and can be more in favor of kind of being more about themselves or these things of the world. And hiding behind their ego, which is shadowy Leo energy. I don't know if I really want to be more authentic, high vibe Leo, and come out from behind my ego nature and, wearing my false mask. Isn't that good enough? Can't I work together with people and be pretty just and fair and loving and nurturing and supportive? I just don't, in high vibe Scorpio, want to do a more deep, meaningful relationship. It kind of stays a little more superficial. But because we want these things of the world, and I want these things of the world, and you want these things of the world, can't we? Isn't that okay? You know, if you're in a more mismatched relationship, it definitely works. If you're the more person who's kind of freed yourself more from your more egoic worldly view of life, and you've put in work and effort within yourself to work through some of your fears and your insecurities and your self-limiting beliefs, and have kind of learned to love yourself and get more balance within yourself. And then again, like I mentioned, I view high vibe Leo as kind of having learned how to give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. So that way, in your more worldly nature, you're not more codependent, looking outside of yourself to people in the world to validate your worth and value. Between you and God, you kind of validate your worth and value and know your worth and value. And I don't have to chase after people and try to create an illusion about the type of person I am. And well, I wore this, you're wearing that. Don't you want to be my friend? And well, if I look like this and I act like this, don't you want to be my friend? It's like I don't want all these things of the world to manipulate me. I want to live my authentic truth. And how about I go out in the world and I treat people the way I like to be treated and maintain balance within myself to treat other people in a just and fair and loving way and see who's kind of open to investing in that. You know, and then there's people in the world who don't like that because they do kind of like you to kiss butt or chase them or play these games, and like maybe I get to be rude to you or maybe I get to be dismissive of you, and because you don't love and believe in yourself enough and you want these things of the world, you're supposed to come chasing after me and kind of indulge me in my poor behavior. It's like, well, I've already been in friendships and relationships with people who are like that, and I really didn't like that kind of relationship. You know, because I don't understand why we can't do a more just and fair and balanced relationship. So, am I sad in the Five of Cups that some people I would like to be in friendship or relationship with or was willing to get to know more, or I had known them, but then somewhere along the way they kind of decided to kind of act in ways that I thought was kind of shadowy? Was I sad? Yeah. And hurt? Yeah. I don't understand. Well, I'm going to offer love to me and the situation, and then kind of high vibe Libra and high vibe Leo is I'm going to deal with the truth of the situation. And the truth of the situation is that if people were more motivated to be more just and fair, they'd be more just and fair. If people were more inspired within themselves to treat other people the way they like to be treated, they would do that. And if some people had learned some of these lessons in life to act with more character and integrity, they would. So I accept the truth. It's kind of like it would have been fun or it would have been nice to keep being friends, but I've already done that. I've already invested in people like that in the past. And you know, again, when I indulge poor behavior in myself or I indulge poor behavior in others, I that's the kind of relationship dynamic I get in. So out of kind of love for myself, and from the Seven of Cups down to the Five of Cups, I'm going to let go of that Two of Cups, which is Cancer energy of people in my life that I maybe would have had been in some type of friendship or relationship with, but kind of in their Two of Cups of their free will of how what they align with, their more hopeful, believing, just, fair, balanced, loving nature, or their more immature, shadowy, or whatever nature. Apparently, you know, it doesn't seem to be the same. In Taurus, our philosophy of life seems to be different, and our truth seems to be different, and what we think is just and fair is different. And because I want some of these things of the world, I could chase after those people. But you know, it's like they did kind of show me the truth in the Devil card. And we can indulge people for quite a while, hoping other people will change. But there kind of comes a point in time that, in the Three of Swords, though I would like it to be just and fair, and there's people in my life that at one time in my life, I could, you know, they could have been loving and encouraging and supportive people to me. But then something happened where it seemed like they weren't being loving and encouraging people. And then in shadow, the Empress can be where someone likes you to view them as a loving, nurturing person in their life, whether they're male or female, friend, family, romantic interest. But that is kind of the role they like to play in your life, where you are more codependent on them and looking to them to play that role in your life instead of you playing that role to yourself and them playing that role within their own life and together, because high vibe energy is being more independent, getting out of a more codependent relationship where we all kind of work to free ourselves from things that manipulate us and love and believe in ourselves, and we respect each other as individuals, and it's not staying in a more codependent relationship. And some of the people we could have gotten in relationships with when we had more of our fears or insecurities or caught up in the world and maybe in more codependent energy, we could have gotten in relationships with people who were happy we were in that energy. They could have loved that we were in that energy. And then they like to play being, and they're kind of in that energy too. So we each could have played being like loving or nurturing people to each other. But when one person kind of worked through some of their issues and they're ready to move forward differently and want it to not be more of a codependent or a more kind of imbalanced relationship, wanting it to be more just and fair and equal give and take, maybe with some of those people, that isn't the type of relationship they like, and they like a more imbalanced relationship. I like it when you're more fearful and afraid and sad, because then you come look to me to be a loving person to you, and I like to play that role in people's life, but only so long as those people stay in that energy. If you start to do work within yourself to get more balance within yourself and heal from some of your past issues, where you free yourself from the 7 to the 10 in the 3 of Pentacles, those issues maybe from your past or your own way of thinking or feeling about yourself, you kind of freed yourself from those things, that now, you're kind of in a different energy, just like sometimes people being like, for example, how you thought and felt and viewed yourself and viewed the world maybe when you're a ninth grader versus how you think and feel about yourself, say, when you're a senior in high school. You're different, like energetically, because energetically you're kind of made up, the energy you kind of exude in your life, and how comfortable more you feel within yourself and how more confident you can feel within yourself because of life experience and learning some of these lessons and learning to love yourself and learning how to maintain better balance just within yourself emotionally. Again, knowing how to be more loving and encouraging and supportive to yourself, or maybe before you weren't, or whatever. You're different. And Scorpio is fixed sign energy and Taurus is fixed sign energy. And Sagittarius and Virgo are energies that we tap into, I believe, when we're kind of ready to transition out of something, like a phase of life, a way of having lived life and viewed life. And because of those life experiences and maybe some work we've done within ourselves, we kind of come out after a period of time where we're not the same person that we were before, when we could have gotten in a job, a friendship, or relationship. And with some of those situations, some of those people could have went through several transitions with us, and we all could have kind of grown and healed together in a lot of ways with some of the people that we've been in more longer term relationships with. So that's where we could have all kind of inspired each other, because at one time, in some ways, we had some common ground, even if it's like, dang, I'm attracted to you, and they're like, dang, I'm attracted to you, or more other things. And again, we could have been looking for someone to be a loving, nurturing, treat us in a more just, fair way than some other people had been. And we could have done that for each other, right? But there comes a point in time, at these transition points, and some people are working through a transition point right now. And if those people don't give in more to their lesser greed, their fear, their insecurity, their pride, their ego, and they keep doing this work within themselves, keep focused kind of on the bigger picture, and think things through. Shadowy energy can be where we just want to feel better now. So all the different things we could go do, because there could be something going on in some environments right now in the Three of Swords where there's this conflict between kind of the heart and the mind. And part of it can be because, again, one person has done some work to free themselves from some things that used to kind of manipulate them. And so now they're kind of in a different energy, and they're offering truth and love to the people in their life to keep moving forward with them. But then those people kind of have to be willing to kind of see the truth and maybe just make a decision. Is this really more my truth? It's just like you could be dating someone and, we got things to work through with that. But then are we going to go to the next phase of, hanging out more as friends or dating someone? And really, are we on the same page? Are we both people who are kind of motivated to want to do more deep, meaningful relationships, come out from behind our defensive nature, our more egoic nature? Even, we can have been attracted to people, we can like people, but, everybody can be, some people can be both be very high vibe, but, there's that special something, the same way of what makes somebody kind of become more of a close friend or a best friend. Is this my truth or isn't it my truth? And so some people could be dealing with that, and I would say, and some people are heartbroken because some other people already made a decision that they don't want to do that, and they think they'll be happy kind of hiding behind their ego, kind of maybe making their life more about being in a relationship to be in a relationship, not do a deep, more meaningful relationship, and they could think they'll be happy with it. I think they have some lessons to learn, but, some people in their fire sign energy of self, regardless of what zodiac sun sign they are, could think, that's like also shadowy Scorpio. Life's about death, sex, and taxes. I'm going to be in a relationship with someone. I'm going to have sex with someone. I think I should get in a relationship with someone who has the most status and image. And, if I'm going to be in a relationship, hell, might as well get in a relationship with someone who's got all those things of the world that I want. Well, I think that's some people who have some lessons to learn in life. And I think eventually they're going to see how those things manipulated them so much. And, could get in relationships with people and they don't realize that, you know, it's a much different experience to be in a relationship with someone who authentically wants to be with you and loves you and was willing to put in work and effort to work with you because it was authentically what they're inspired to operate from, versus being with someone where someone could be indulging someone for whatever benefit there is to also just being in the relationship, or indulges you or has sex with you or offers you these things of the world in exchange for you acting like you love them. That's when a romantic relationship ends up feeling more like a job. But that is how some people kind of view it, and those people are going to have to go on a journey. And if that's their truth, that's their truth, and they could think that's what everybody does. And this is a dog eat dog world, and you other people are stupid. It's like, well, okay, well, you go enjoy your life. I think if some of the more shadowy people try to get in relationships with people who are more authentic and inspired by love, I don't think the more loving people are going to stay in a relationship with them, no matter how somebody might dote on them or act like they want to be with them or give them things of the world. Eventually those people feel like I'm missing an opportunity in love, because I don't. It could have felt like love initially. It looked like love. It quacked like love. It seemed like love. But people who are generally inspired by love, it's not like shadowy Leo where it can seem like people are putting on a performance, mimicking you, acting like you act. They authentically, you feel it from them. I love you. I'm so happy to see you. It's like their cup of love kind of bubbles over, and you want to be in a relationship with people where it seems like it's that, and not, well, this seems logical and practical, and this has the stability and security, and this is good enough, and we like each other and could have love for each other. But if one person, the whole thing is, I think eventually it's going to fall apart anyway, because if the one person really is not in the foundation that they operate from in their Three of Pentacles foundation, it really isn't love that drives and motivates them. Eventually they will be tempted, because it's kind of like God knows the truth even if we don't want to see the truth, and someone will come along that seems to have all those things of the world that they're sure are the most important thing, even if it could be, well, I don't want to keep having to be just and fair. I think I'd rather have it be about me, and oh, look, there's someone who I think might be more fearful or more insecure, more heartbroken. I think they'd really indulge me, and I wouldn't have to keep kind of growing up and maturing myself. And then they go get tempted by that, and we can be upset, but really it's like God was just trying to get us to see the truth, because the bottom row can represent how we kind of didn't want to see the truth, even if we were seeing the truth. And either it'll get worse and worse over time that we can't stay, whatever their things are that people could do to feel powerful or make it more about them or boost their ego or something. It's going to get worse and worse, because it's just like an addiction. Whatever it is, if people haven't learned to maintain better balance within themselves and invest in love, there's some other things driving them. And just like people can get addicted to drugs or alcohol to feel better, other people can become bossy or controlling or intimidated to feel a sense of control and power. While there's something wrong. You shouldn't have to feel like you need a sense of control or power in a relationship. but it can be because other people could becoming more independent, and they're not more independent of things that manipulate them, and then they can become more controlling because they too could want the relationship to work. But if they have things or people in their life that kind of manipulate them, or even the status or the ego or the image, or you have to act this way, or just caught up more in the world, even the fact that other people are becoming more independent of it, and those things don't manipulate them that way, and they don't want to see the truth of things that manipulate them, then they can become more hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair, and shadowy energy is doing all these things to try to manipulate and control the people in their life to stop them from becoming independent of a way of living life or a phase of life. Even though the high vibe people in their life are offering to work together with them in a just and fair and balanced and loving way, it's like, but that's different. You're not doing this anymore. And I wanted to keep doing this. You know, and the Three of Swords comes after the Two of Swords. It's like, I just worked through some things that used to keep me stuck, and those things don't keep me stuck anymore. Or I've just kind of seen through the illusion of the world or the bullshit or the whatever, and I just want to live my more authentic life. But they still have all these things and ways of thinking about life and viewing life or whatever that manipulate them, and they don't like, and it's just kind of like, that's not where you're at. And that's when, you know, hopefully some people in your life say, you know, that's not for me, but you go do that. You know, in some ways, I wish I could come with you and live my life like that, but that's not the stage of life I'm at, or things I'm invested in. I'm not able to go do that right now. Maybe later in my life I can. High vibe people aren't going to keep staying in a situation where people are being more immature, shadowy empress, where they kind of want to be the indulged, privileged person in the relationship. You know, it's like the devil tries to present themselves as God, as loving, to get people to invest in a relationship with them. And then it's like you're supposed to keep staying codependent on them, and you're not supposed to free yourself from things that manipulate you, because they don't plan to free themselves from things that manipulate them. And they kind of want, for some, they wanted to keep doing this. And if you're not willing to kind of make your life more about them, or more about these things they indulge in, or more about these things of the world, that is their truth. That is what drives and motivates them. And you see the truth of it. You accept the truth of it, even though you could be heartbroken, even though you wished it would have worked. I can't keep living my life like that. I'm not able to live my more authentic life. And as more time goes by, I see how much those things manipulate you. And those things don't manipulate me that way. And it's kind of our truth is different. So I wish you peace and love. But, you know, and with some of the people in our life, we know they're kind of going down a bad path in a way, because we've probably already learned those lessons in life, but they haven't. And sometimes some people have just had more life experience than some other people. And, you know, in order to learn lessons, you have to temper your ego. And anybody in your life who you know is a little more prideful, a little more egotistical, a little bit more about themselves, a little bit more caught up in the ego and the image, or things they like to indulge in, you know, it can be really hard to want to see how those things kind of can be driving our life off into the ditch and we don't even know it. And then, you know, at some future point in time, we kind of find ourselves in hell. But then those things that we made so important in our life are things that we look to make us feel better. And it's kind of this repeating cycle. But for some people, because they were so sure status or ego or image or money would be what would make them happy and that they'd be happy so long as they had those things, because that was the most important thing. I think the people who still think that, they're going to keep pursuing that. That's their truth. And I guess if they're in relationships with people who that is their truth also, then they're a match. And those are people who make their life more about those things. And some of you who've realized, well, I wasn't happy in it. Okay, so let them live their life. You know, you think it is a more superficial, shallow, based on those kind of reasons. And the thing is, if someone comes along who probably has more status, ego, or image, one of the people would probably be willing to leave. Because it really is. You know, if you're not, love is how you build a solid foundation. Otherwise, you're building a foundation on shifting sand. And some people, they'll stay in the relationship, you know, but other people, someone eventually might leave. Because it can be really more about just how it benefits them. And they're not really more emotionally invested in it. And that's kind of the thing when people hide behind their ego nature and they don't really emotionally, authentically invest in people. There's no skin off their nose because they weren't emotionally invested in it anyway. And for the people who were, it's really hard when those things happen because you have to see the truth about people who at one time you thought were more just and fair and loving and see through the illusion of who you thought they were. And as you go through that process, as time goes by, you do see through the illusion. And as you're living your life in your truth and they're living their life in their truth, as time goes by, you see the truth of it and you see that they operate from a different foundation. And that's when you've closed out a cycle and you're ready to go have this new beginning. Because you learn the lesson you're meant to learn. There are more shadowy people, there's more immature people, there's more bossy, controlling people, people who are, it needs to be more about them, people who don't really more authentically invest. And when you've incorporated all that, those lessons that you've learned, it's like, I'm going to go out in the world, living my truth and maintaining this balance within myself so I'm more connected in with, yes, I want some of these things in the world, but I'm also going to listen to my intuition because I have had these painful life experiences. And then in a more high vibe Scorpio, a more high vibe Sagittarius, you know, there are no guarantees in life. I'm going to go listen to my intuition about the different people I meet. If I meet someone that my intuition tells me, I have no guarantee if they're going to keep on the path of life or if sometime during it they're going to drift off into the ditch. But I will deal with that then. And during the course of it, you know, if someone seems to be doing something that, like, wait a minute, what's going on? That didn't seem very just or fair, and it kind of seems like, you know, maybe I'm putting in more of the work and effort to make it more just or fair or balanced or loving, and you kind of seem to be indulging in it. What's going on? You know, this is supposed to be working together. I thought this was both of our truth. And, you know, because you might as well call it out when it's happening, and instead of trying to bring it up years later, you know. And if people are willing to move forward, then fine, we do. If not, okay. Well, let's not go another day of not telling the truth, or, you know, let's deal with it or not deal with it. But I'd rather, if we're not going to deal with it, not deal with it now. And so there could be some people could be a little heartbroken because, sometimes some relationships didn't work out at a time in our life and we all had some lessons to learn. And then, we get in other relationships and then those people have to decide, that just sad. But you could assume that everything, speak your truth, live your truth, act with truth and love. Make sure the people that you're in relationship with are working with you in the way you want. Otherwise, people are going to kind of live a life of illusion. And it probably will come crumbling down eventually. Offer truth and love to work with the people in your life. And if that's not their truth, wish them peace. And, go try to find some of the people in the world that you think are more on the same page as you. Some high vibe people have completed a cycle, though. And it's like they're living their truth. There's people in their life they are not communicating with, indulging anymore. Some of those people definitely could be angry because they didn't think you would love and believe in yourself enough. And you did. And whatever friendships or relationships you could be in right now, you're continuing to invest in those and looking to meet new people along the way. What's coming up for the high vibe people they don't see coming? This card not seeing it, showing itself. And the reason is because of the Queen of Cups, which Queen of Cups I view as Scorpio. Because high vibe people offered love to themselves and the situation to keep, because they are enlightened to the truth. Love is the answer. Love is how I will work through this. Other people got mad, got angry, got jealous, got envious, tried to control situations. They repeated some old patterns. And they maybe didn't deal or take action in truth and love. And some other people did. And so how I'd interpret this card is that what you don't see coming is because of offering truth to the situation, it helped you detach from this, harnessing this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way and harnessing it in a more high vibrational way. And for some people who could see you moving forward in life differently, they don't understand, like, well, how'd you do that? And again, shadowy energy can be where people try to create an illusion they're more just, fair, stable, balanced, or loving than they really are. And they could just be jealous thinking you are putting on a really good show and they don't know how you're doing it. But the thing is, you're not putting on a show. You really did. You were inspired to wrap your brain around this game of life. So you offered love to the past to make peace with it so you could go have a new beginning and not let people who are hurtful or unkind or unjust or didn't want to work together with you in a relationship keep you in negative, shadowy energy. I accept you're where you're at and you view life the way you view it and you're motivated and inspired by what you're motivated and inspired by. That's not my truth. I wish you peace. Hope that works out for you. I'm going to give birth to something new. I want justice and fairness and long-term stability and security and to work with people whose truth is love and who have learned some of these same lessons in life and are more self-insightful, stable, grounded, and mature. And that wasn't you. So you've changed. What is the card? The Temperance card. So the Temperance card, like the Knight of Wands, is Sagittarius energy. We can be patient with people for a long time. Brothers, sisters, adult children, moms, dad, family members, people at work, romantic interests, whoever, The more of an involved or probably maybe family relationship or long-term relationship, the more we will extend people grace, right? kind of in the Temperance card, being patient. Trying to inspire people, but again, I can offer truth and love and walk my truth, but if other people keep showing me that they're going to keep repeating certain patterns, I'm not going to keep staying in denial of the truth. I wish you peace. You go do you. And I'm done. Kind of the Temperance card also can talk about trying to balance things out with people. You know, I can feel proud of myself, High Vibe Leo, that I think I acted in truth and love and patience. But there comes a time I can't keep investing in people who don't want to work together with me in a more just and fair way, who don't want to see the truth, speak the truth, stand up for the truth, offer love. They want to keep being indulged, want to keep being immature, want me to keep indulging them maybe in a way I've indulged them. I'm done. And if your truth isn't to do it this way, then there will be no balancing things out with you anymore. From an energy of love, go live your life. Our truth is different. And I'm going to go take action in truth and love, in my truth. And I'm going to go give birth to what I think is just and fair. And you're going to go give birth to what you think is just and fair, based on how you view life. Oh, and I think as you do that, you know, other people see you doing that. Other people know you could go take some action to feel better. You could be immature, you could be lustful, greedy, prideful, more about you or more about these things of the world. And, you know, you're choosing to not compromise your truth. You're motivated and inspired by love. And it has to be just and fair and acting with character and integrity. And there could definitely be some people who would like to be in a relationship with you, because I think shadowy people want to be in a relationship with high vibe people, because they don't really like being in a relationship with people like themselves. If they're bossy or controlling or prideful or immature or like to be the privileged person, they don't want to be in a relationship with someone else who's like that. They want to be in a relationship with someone who's loving and nurturing and self-disciplined and high vibe Leo. You be loving and nurturing and let me be shadowy and immature. That's great. That works for me. I love that. And some people could have done that for quite a long time. And eventually they were like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. I thought everybody was motivated by love, but apparently not. And then the devil's sad that they weren't willing to work more cooperatively from love. But, you know, they got their truth. They have their way of looking at life that they think is just and fair, and they're going to go repeat an old pattern. And you are going to find people who are more of a counterpart to you. And again, when you're actually taking action in the world in King of Cups energy, you internally, authentically should be a Queen of Cups. And that's what you are. And love is to be just and fair. You are balanced within yourself. You are not wearing a false mask. And no longer, it's kind of like I offer people truth and love and work with them in a just and fair way. And if that's not who they are, well, that's too bad in the Five of Cups. But I see the truth and I accept the truth. You know, it would have been nice to have come together with you in a relationship, but I see our truth is different. So I'm going to go on my journey and you're going to go on your journey. And they're different. And I'm no longer going to be upset and angry about it. You do you. Thank you for showing me who you are. And I wish you peace. Good luck. And I'm going to go on my way and you can go on your way. What's coming up for people who harness a more shadowy Leo energy? The Five of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords. Why? Because of the Eight of Wands. So the Eight of Wands, like the Knight of Wands and the Temperance card, is Sagittarius energy. What they maybe never see coming for some people who keep indulging their more immature nature or kind of being full of themselves, we can all kind of do that in the Five of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy, because of these things of the world and these things of the world that we want to indulge in this more worldly view of life. We've all been there, and the Five of Pentacles can talk about how we can have a lack mentality, and we've all felt left out in the cold, and in the Ten of Swords could have lacked motivation and inspiration to wrap our brain around this game of life, so we could have indulged in some things and friendships and relationships to feel better. Well, everybody can have done that in their life. But the difference is the people who are motivated by love, when they're in relationships with people where they could be being encouraging and supportive and kind of loving to each other, that is fertile soil to kind of grow yourself within. And loving people do that work within themselves to wrap their brain around their own lack mentality and how they sabotage themselves or other people who backstabbed and betrayed them, and they don't want to keep staying in that energy. They are inspired to not let those things keep them sad. They want to get to the truth, and they offer love to themselves and the situation to free themselves from it. But some of the other people never do. They keep having their lack mentality. They keep sabotaging themselves. They keep, even no matter what, if they're in a bad environment, they don't do it. If they're in a more loving, encouraging, supportive environment, some of them don't do it. You know? But that's the thing. You have to be inspired within yourself to want to deal with the truth and to free yourself from things that manipulate you. And for some of these people, they're like, I'm not interested in doing that. They keep moving forward, never taking more creative, inspired action in their life, indulging in what they indulge in, making their life about them, never wanting to see the truth of where they could grow or heal or mature themselves, to change, give birth to something new. And for some, it's because they don't want to give birth to anything new. Whatever way they could live their life, and it could just be, I'm just more motivated and inspired by these things of the world. I don't think there's any higher truth or justice to aspire to. I maybe don't believe in love. So I just want to be in a relationship and indulge myself in it, as long as it works for me good enough and it works for them good enough. And they could just be people who never really do love. It's always not inspired to harness their fire sign energy differently, to do love. Well, other people do. And they're always going to have some people in their life, friends or family members or romantic interests, that aren't going to keep moving forward with them in that way. Because other people do periodically look through their bag of shit that they drag with them to work through it, to free themselves from it. But some of these other people don't, and that's a free will choice they have. I don't ever want to look at those things. If I have things about myself that are kind of immature or shadowy, I don't want to see the truth of it. If I have people in my life that I align with that are kind of shadowy, if they're manipulative or bossy or controlling or hurtful or unkind, I don't want to see the truth of it. And that's our free will. It's just that more high vibrational people will leave their life, and the people they'll be more surrounded with are other people, you know? And so the people who think, well, I don't have to grow up and mature, or I don't have to temper my ego, or I don't have to, I think I can use all these things about me manipulatively. Whether they wanted to or not, eventually kind of the only people that more are willing to stay in a relationship with them are other people just like them, which could be people they don't even want to move forward with. But because some of them are so stubborn and prideful, Don't even care how much it drives their life off into the ditch. I refuse to admit I was wrong. I refuse to admit that maybe I was immature. I refuse to admit that maybe I was more about myself. I refuse to admit that maybe I got caught up in these things of the world, or maybe I made me too important, or maybe I made money or status too important. And they might move forward with people that the devil can mean that could move forward in something that looks like they have what people of the world could want. Like other people could be jealous and envious of them. I don't think some of the people who know them well enough would be jealous of them, because they know these people. It really is all more just these things of the world. It isn't to be more balanced and equally abundant in authenticity and love and creativity. It's all kind of either just more conforming to the world, or it's only about those things that they indulge in or make their life about. That is the driving factor that drives and motivates them, not being inspired by truth and love. And hey, if they find other people who are motivated by that, then they're a right match. I just think that we can have all those things in the world, just like we read newspaper articles about the rich and famous who are miserable and unhappy because they have all these yes people or whatever around them, and they have all these things of the world, but they don't have people maybe in their life who they think really authentically love them and are telling them the truth, because they have so many other people that will tell them anything they want to hear, and they could have gotten in their ego if someone tried to tell them something. And the more authentic people who love them aren't in their life anymore. And all they have is the other people who want to be around to indulge in it for however it benefits them. But they're going to go on a journey and maybe go find out that where they're headed. And same way, when we align with our more self-indulgent nature or shadowy nature, our shadow nature, kind of represented by the devil, doesn't have good intentions for us. Our shadow nature doesn't care if we drive our life off into the ditch. We could end up in the gutter and it lick their fingers and say, damn, that was great. Because it's shadowy energy. We want to do all these things and experience all these feelings and emotions and thoughts, because we weren't inspired to invest in ourselves and our own, kind of more love and believe in ourselves, to go on a journey of being willing to learn lessons in life, temper our ego, and grow up and mature ourselves and invest in love. And the things that they chose to invest in, that they thought in turn would love them back, no. But they kept not wanting to see the truth of it. So there you go, Leo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.